You know that feeling, right? The days start getting shorter, the light fades, and your energy just tanks. It's a shift so many of us feel. But is it just the winter blues, or is there something more going on? Well, today, we're going to find out what's really happening when the seasons change our mood. It's a question a lot of us ask ourselves every year. Why do these darker months feel so heavy? Is it just me being grumpy because it's cold, or is something deeper at play? That urge to just hibernate and pull the covers over your head, it's a really common feeling. But for some people, it goes way, way beyond just the blues. Okay, so let's get right into it. To really understand what's going on, we have to draw a clear line in the sand between that general feeling of winter blah and an actual clinical diagnosis. They're not the same thing. So here it is. The key distinction: seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, isn't just a bad mood. It's a recognized, legitimate type of depression. And the absolute key word here is pattern. The symptoms show up like clockwork with a specific season, and then poof, they vanish when that season ends. And this is where it gets really specific. I mean, the winter blues, that's super common, right? You feel a bit grumpy, you've got less energy. But a SAD diagnosis, that's a whole different league. You have to meet the full criteria for major depression, and you've had that same cycle for at least 2 years in a row. And just as important, you feel totally fine in between those seasons.
So, what is actually happening inside our bodies to cause this? Why can a simple change in daylight have such a massive, massive impact? Let's take a look at the science behind the slump.
Well, the leading theory all comes down to something that's wired deep inside every single one of us: our circadian rhythm. You can think of it as your body's master 24-hour clock. It's the boss telling you when to sleep, when to wake up, and when to feel energized. And for some people, it's like a biological domino effect. It all starts with less daylight. That simple change throws their internal clock out of whack. And when that happens, it messes with some really important hormones. You get a surge of melatonin, the sleep hormone, which makes you feel drowsy all the time. Meanwhile, your levels of serotonin, the feel-good hormone, can take a nosedive. The end result? That classic heavy feeling of low mood and zero energy. Now, that body clock theory is definitely the frontrunner, but scientists are looking at other pieces of the puzzle too. Things like low vitamin D from not getting enough sun, or even how an individual's eyes process light. It's complicated, and it's probably not just one single thing for everybody. Okay, so we've covered the biology. But let's bring this back to real life. What do these changes actually feel and look like day to day? How does it show up? But before we even get into the symptoms, just look at this number: 20%. That's 1 in 5 Americans who experience some form of this. So if you feel this shift, you are absolutely not alone. This is a huge part of the human experience, especially the farther you live from the equator, where that winter darkness really hits hard. Emotionally, the signs can look a lot like classic depression. It's that persistent low mood, losing interest in things that you usually love, finding it impossible to focus, and that powerful urge to just pull away from everyone and, basically become a hermit until spring. And this is not just in your head. It is deeply physical. People with winter pattern SAD often find themselves wanting to sleep all the time, craving carbs like crazy, and just feeling this overwhelming lead blanket sluggishness. It's almost like your body is literally trying to go into hibernation. And here's a curveball for you. It's not always about winter. While it's much more common, there's a smaller group of people who experience the complete opposite. For them, it's the intense light and the long days of summer that triggers symptoms, not sluggishness, but things like anxiety and agitation. So, if any of this is sounding familiar, either for you or for someone you care about, the most important thing to hear is this: this is manageable. There are proven, effective ways to fight back and find that light again. The main treatment toolkit really boils down to 3 heavy hitters, and they're often used together. First, you've got light therapy, which is all about replacing that sunlight your brain is missing. Then there's talk therapy, which is fantastic for building coping skills, and in some cases, medication can be really helpful to get that brain chemistry back in balance. And that quote really gets to the heart of something like talk therapy. It's not just about fixing a problem. It's about having this incredibly valuable, dedicated time and space just to check in with yourself, to understand what's going on, and to build strategies that can help you year after year. Let's zoom in on that light therapy for a second, because it's a very specific tool. You'll hear this number thrown around a lot, 10,000 lux. But what on earth does that actually mean?
Well, it's actually pretty simple. 10,000 lux is basically the brightness of a beautiful, clear, sunny morning. The whole idea is to sit in front of one of these special lamps for about 30 minutes, usually right after you wake up. It's like sending a direct signal to your brain that says, hey, it's morning, time to wake up and reset that clock. And on top of those formal treatments, small lifestyle shifts can have a huge impact. Things like just getting outside in the morning sun whenever you can, fighting that urge to isolate and actually connecting with people, getting your body moving, even something as simple as dressing warmly so the cold isn't an excuse to stay inside. All of these little steps add up. And of course, the most important step of all is to talk to a healthcare professional to figure out the right plan for you.
So let's end on a thought for you to take with you. Whether it's something as simple as opening the blinds the second you wake up, or as big as making that call to get some help, what is one small thing you can do this week to let a little more light in?